Union or a sequel if it's good. Tell me about this one, though. How did this deal come together?
Nicole, Chris Paul really wanted to be back playing near the Los Angeles area. That's where his family resides. That's where he felt like he wanted to end his career, potentially, his 21st and final NBA career. And the Clippers, on the other hand, they needed a reserve guard. They needed a point guard coming off the bench. And that's what Chris Paul is going to be. He had multiple suitors, the Bucks, Mavericks, Hornets, I'm told, but the chance to join a contender in LA, the history that this organization has had with Chris Paul, he's got in his 6 seasons, 5 All-NBA teams. That's the most in franchise history. And so there's a lot of lineage there with Chris Paul as part of the Clippers. And so he's expected to play one more NBA season and retire after the 2025-26 season. He gets to go and stay in Los Angeles near his family for that storybook ending.
Sort of a dream scenario in a lot of ways. You sort of touched on it also a minute. You said the reserve guard situation, because obviously James Harden is entrenched there as the starter. How else does the rest of this roster look?
Nicole, Chris Paul very much understood his role throughout this process as he was talking to Lawrence Frank in that Clippers organization and Ty Lue, the head coach. On some nights, he could start. He could come off the bench as a 6th man. He could be the backup to James Harden. On other nights, he's a true plug-and-play player at this point in his career. They could also manage his minutes. But Nicole, there are also going to be nights where Chris Paul is a DNP ED, did not play coach's decision, and that's what the Clippers, Chris Paul, they're moving forward with. He's fully bought in. This is a very deep, veteran-laden Clippers team now with Bradley Beal in the mix, John Collins in the mix. So this is a Clippers team that everyone has to have their priorities in order, and that starts with players like James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and extends to guys like Bradley Beal last week and Chris Paul this week.
Look, with breaking news from the NBA, because Chris Paul is heading back to Los Angeles, the veteran point guard agreeing to return to the Clippers for what is expected to be his final season. CP3 previously spent 6 years with the Clippers, leading the team to its most successful stretch in franchise history. Paul ranks 2nd in NBA history in both assists and steals. He played last season, if you remember, with the Spurs. So including the signing of the veteran and Chris Paul, it's been a very busy offseason for the Clippers. LA also signed free agents Bradley Beal, Brook Lopez, and acquired John Collins in a 3-team trade. The Clippers also re-signed star James Harden to a 2-year deal worth $81.5 million. Let's say hello to NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins, who's with us now here on SportsCenter. And Perk, give me your reaction to Chris Paul joining the Clippers.
Well, one, Shay, is not breaking news. It's just NBA news, right? Chris Paul.
Dog days of summer here, Perk. We're doing what we can, you know?
Right. Right. Chris Paul signs with the Clippers on the vet minimum. Solid pickup for the Clippers as far as him coming in and being a backup point guard. He's one of the greatest floor generals to ever do it. Now you add him to this veteran roster that's going to compete at the highest level, well-coached team. They have a lot of good pieces on this team, and they're gonna be in the thick of things. They're gonna be a top 8 team in the Western Conference, but we know what CP3 brings to the locker room, an extension of Ty Lue, his leadership, being able to play off the ball. We saw his stint in Golden State playing alongside Steph Curry. And so, yes, they do have a nice veteran roster, but they still have a lot of questions.
Nice veteran roster with a lot of ages that start with the number 3 and now one that start with the number 4. I'm just going to point that out. Obviously, as you see on that full screen, the Clippers made a bunch of additions this offseason. We just talked about it. ESPN Bet had their title odds at 33-1 when the season ended. Now they're at 16-1 now, though. How do you view the Clippers in the conversation of maybe championship contenders?
I don't. This is an old folks' home right now, nursing home, in my opinion. When you look at them, when you look at the league, everybody is getting young at the wing position. That's the most important position in the NBA when it comes down to be able to defend at a high level. I understand going to get Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, you got James Harden. But again, those guys are great when it comes down to being offensively good, but defensively, you're going to have to get stops, especially in the stacked Western Conference when you got elite perimeter play all across the board. And so when I look at the teams that I feel like are better than them, the Rockets, the Thunder, the Nuggets, even the Lakers right now with the additions that they added, I just see this team having a really good regular season and being a tough out in the postseason, but not legit title contenders in my eyes.
When you mentioned the the team that just won the championship in the Thunder and a team like the Rockets. I mean, outside of Kevin Durant, these are two very, very young squads. Very different, I guess I'll say.
It's always good to have you in studio, my friend. Brian, I am going to start with you here and talk about the fit. We're looking at an incredibly deep, if not a little bit of an older Los Angeles Clippers team. How do you see CP3 slotting in here?
Well, this is a great value signing for the Clippers. They get a first ballot Hall of Famer, really for a bargain basement contract, because he was prioritizing staying home in Los Angeles ahead of playing time and role. He could have gone to Milwaukee, as Shams mentioned, and gotten more guaranteed playing time. That's not going to be the case here. From what I understand, he's not going to have guaranteed playing time. There are going to be nights where James Harden and their backup Chris Dunn get the minutes at point guard, and Chris Paul might not play at all, which is something you've never seen from him before. He has understood that. He understands that he is going to be in that spot that he hasn't. He wants to be on a competitive team in the market he wants to play in near his family. And, look, there had to be an understanding with James Harden. He and James Harden didn't have the greatest relationship when they were in Houston a few years ago, but Harden is on board with this signing. They went to him with it first. He understands that he played the 5th most minutes in the league last year, and anything the Clippers can do to support and protect him is welcomed, and that's what this move is.
Okay, you said a whole lot of important stuff right there, Brian. And in fact, I'm most interested, Perk, in the thought that a guy who started in 82 games last season is okay with his role now be coming off of the bench. Do you think from a basketball perspective, because for his family, I am so very happy for Jada and the whole crew that Chris Paul is closer to home here. From a basketball perspective, is this the right fit for his final season?
Congratulations to Steve Ballmer and the Los Angeles Clippers. They have officially become the nursing home for the NBA for the players that are on the back end of their career. No, I'm serious, because if we think that this is about to move the needle for the Clippers for us being a competitor, not just a title contender, but competing in a tough Western Conference, it's not. And I get it. Chris Paul, he brings great value, whether he's playing or whether he's on the bench being an extension of Ty Lue. But when I look at their roster, I look at a guy like Dunn. Yes, he's a guy that could defend at a high level, but the Clippers look old. And they still, to me, have a problem at their wing position when it comes down to depth from guys that could compete and play at a high level on the defensive side of things. Offensively, they got enough to put up points. They're going to have a good regular season. But when it comes down to them competing in the Western Conference, especially when they get postseason time, can they compete with the likes of a Houston, OKC, Denver, even the Lakers now? I just don't see it.
Look, I mean, this team, it goes as Kawhi Leonard goes, right? Ultimately, how healthy is Kawhi Leonard? That is going to dictate what the Los Angeles Clippers are able to do. Because if we were talking about 2017 and looking at all of these guys on this roster, this would be a formidable group. But this is a little bit of an older group that we're looking at.